At the last countdown to launch, we were 3 days away from liftoff. And now here we are today, 2 days away from hopefully lifting off. Boy, that has been a long feeling 24 hours, hasn't it? Roll the intro.
And here we go.
There's the Deluge. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Following up.
Did he just do a kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
We did have an observation.
Equinox.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome everybody as we look in live right now in Starbase, Texas. Hey, what do you know? There's a ship that's getting lifted onto a booster right now. This is live views of Ship 39 on its way up, and hopefully the only time it goes up after this is on its way towards space, just about 49 hours from now. This is Countdown to Launch here at NSF, where we get you up to date on everything happening with Starship before Flight 12, which as of now, currently scheduled for Thursday. So exciting times ahead, and of course we're going to get you caught up on everything that's happened in the last couple of days, and everything we can look forward to in the next couple of days. I am not alone, of course, throughout this. I am Sawyer Rosenstein as your host, but I am also joined by Alex on commentary today. How's it going, Alex? It's yeah, or it should have been like an hour and 21 minutes from now. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, our last countdown to launch was Saturday. That's why we were joking that it was 3 days away. Now it's 2 days away because of the date moving. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Hopefully someone else. I don't know. Well, Alex is glad to be here, is what he's saying. And that my joke was absolutely very funny with the 24 hours because I totally came up with it and Alex wasn't the one that came up with it or anything. But also joining me here is Ryan Weber. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going fantastic, Sawyer. It's been a weird 24 hours. What's going on? I don't really know. But the last CTO was Saturday, so 3 days plus another 2. Yeah, SpaceX likes to delay things sometimes. But hey, they're stacking the ship. We have vehicles at the pad. They're stacking the ship on the booster. And we're getting ready for Flight 12, hopefully in like 2 days, maybe? We'll see. We'll see if they make that. I mean, the fact that they're stacking now kind of helps their case towards that fact. But, I mean, we'll see. And we'll talk about where they're at and what else they might have left to go here.
And we will do that in just a moment, but first, we want to remind you that you can tag us with questions at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will answer as many of those questions as we can throughout the broadcast. And I guess now's the perfect time to mention that Kevin Michael Reed is the one pushing the buttons and pulling the levers and working out all of the kinks before launch.
The one
day
muting
here.
Alex.
Should we just not talk about the producer?
We can talk about
It's the
Starship
first time you
update
don't
that
want the
is Gateway
producer
to
to be
Mars.
mentioned.
Yes, the producer today is the Gateway to Mars sign, as you can see up on that picture there.
Good lord.
Starship update, Kevin Michael Reed. Is that what it is?
That is.
Huh.
Anyway, we're up to a great start here today, folks. But thankfully, the ship and booster are off to a better start than we are. We had the booster rolling out in the early hours, followed by the ship. And then this morning, we saw the booster being stacked on the launch pad, and now, of course, we see the ship on its way to the top. So, can you kind of just give an update, Ryan? I know that was a very brief overlaying summary, but this was from the ship roll this morning. Can you kind of talk us through the timeline here of what we're at?
So I guess I'll start back from our last CTL. Kind of works that way. So last CTL, both vehicles were inside their bays, getting final checks, everything like that. And then around the 16th, Ship 39 ended up getting put on its transport stand. It got rolled back out of the bay. The PEZ loader got loaded in, and then 39 went back in and got its 22 satellites. It's 20 downlinks and it's 2 modified Starlinks for cameras and looking at the ship heat shield when they go for entry. So that happened. Booster, I guess, might have had some extra work, so that's why it didn't come out. We don't really know, though. It could have been a booster thing, could have been a pad thing, could have been just waiting to make sure ship was closer to being ready. We don't really know why there was a delay, but there was. But either way, last night, Booster 19 rolled out to the pad. It didn't get stacked right away. I think it got put on the pad. It was early this morning. It was like 6:30, maybe 7, something like that in the morning or something like that. And then ship rolled out around that same time or so. Then they put the ship into the sticks, and they're stacking it right now. They're going kind of slow, but as I will point out, this is only the second time they've ever stacked a ship with this pad. It is also the heaviest ship they've ever stacked before, because remember, in the past they only had 8 sats on, now they got 22. It's not as heavy as a booster is, but it is still the heaviest ship they've ever stacked. So maybe they're just taking their time, and again, it is only the second time they've stacked with this pad. So they're taking things slow, they're making sure they do it right. The last thing you want to do is all of a sudden damage a ship, and then you're not flying for a while. So that's the last thing you want to do. But either way, they are progressing with this, and we're net minus 49 hours, 16 minutes from a possible launch of this stack. That's kind of where we're at.
That's a pretty good summary, and hopefully we will see that launch in just a little bit. As we saw this lift there while you were talking, we did see the ship quick disconnect arm move out of the way, which we typically see as they get ready to place the ship on top of the booster. Now, Alex, in terms of all the closures and testing and things like that, obviously we originally were hoping to see the launch today, then it was tomorrow, and now we're seeing Thursday. What are we kind of expecting SpaceX to do between now and Thursday?
Well, as you mentioned, there's a test closure for tomorrow. There's a beach closure, which obviously it's for some kind of testing because the flight is on Thursday now. And so the big question is, what would you do if you had a full stack and you plan a test, right? It's like, it's the big question where it's like, yeah, I think it's going to be a wet dress rehearsal again. And I know some people might be wondering, but why? Why another? They already did one last week, basically. And just think about this. They've been able to do a test last week, roll back the vehicles, work on them, and now roll them back and have them full stack again. And they're about to launch in 2 days. Do you think they just sat around and not do anything with the vehicles, right? My thinking is that they probably did something to the vehicles. They want to figure it out because, if you think about this, they tested the vehicles, right, in full stack configuration. They might have seen something. They might have changed something in the vehicles, and maybe that's why they need a further test. Like, whenever you think about a test that they're about to do, it's less about, oh, they've done this before, and more about, well, if they've done this before, there must be something going on. And in this case, there's been a few days of them being in the base where they might have been working on them. They might have applied some changes here and there to the interiors or whatever that might be that needs a test. And so that's what they might be doing tomorrow. And so we'll obviously be covering that. We really think it's probably going to be a wet dress rehearsal. It's in full stack configuration. If it's a partial test, cool as well. Never hurts to see a frosty full stack, I guess, even if it's partial. But I do hope we see a full test. We've seen that the pad, for example, has gotten chill downs and things like that, like running the tank farm for a while and doing a lot of deluge tests as well in the last few days. And so it would make sense for them to then do another sort of all-up test with the vehicles and the pad as well, all the way down to basically the last few seconds of a countdown, and then repeat the same on Thursday, but this time lighting the engines and letting it go. So we'll see what happens.
Like,
Yeah.
and when you talk
ahead,
about
Ryan.
one of those tests, sorry. I was gonna say, when you talk about one of those tests, it was like 2 days ago. They ran the lock side, especially through the ship and through the pad. They ran it so much that they basically chilled it down towards prop load, but instead of prop load, they just dumped it overboard. So
Yeah.
there were a few pictures of actually pure liquid oxygen being dumped out of the tower vent. Like, I saw some of the pictures and you could see it was blue, and that's the color of liquid oxygen. So they were definitely doing some tests, trying to make sure things were working just correctly on that side. I didn't see the methane side run, but usually that side's been working pretty well lately. So
It's blue. I mean, it's orange. No, wait, it is blue. But yeah, I originally was wondering if they were going to do like an Artemis 2, where it was, you know what, we're going to fill it up and call it a wet dress rehearsal, and if we can get to an actual T0, be able to launch, and yay! But doesn't seem like that is the case currently. They're going to do a separate wet dress rehearsal. And there was a question here from Ghost Raptor was asking, does SpaceX need to complete the wet dress rehearsal for launch? We now have a little bit more clarification on that launch license thing, but is this, Alex, a requirement for launch?
In terms of paperwork, I don't think. Yeah, so I promised that we would get the update here. I'll find the statement, because the FAA, they'd get back to us. They confirmed that indeed the license modification does apply to Flight 12, so that's good. We were talking about this last Saturday. And the thing is, I think based on the behavior that we've seen in terms of these closures slipping day by day, there's a good chance that this is something actually that SpaceX themselves are just wanting to do, like a must-happen sort of test for them to be 100% sure that everything is fully ready for launch. This is the first flight of version 3, and they really don't want this to go like version 2, right? And it's the first launch not just of version 3, but also from this pad, with much more revamped tank farm systems and everything, right? And so I think it boils down to that. It's just themselves sort of putting this this requirement, right? Instead of being somebody else or some exterior force or whatever you want to call it, it's themselves just wanting to make sure, because every single time the wet dress rehearsal or the whatever might happen tomorrow test window has shifted by a day, then the launch has also shifted by a day, or vice versa, right? And so there's a somewhat correlation there, and I think it's down to that right before that launch happens, they really want to get this test done. Whatever that test is, again, we think it's very much a wet dress rehearsal.
And I would also say to that point is, for those who say, well, why don't they just, as the Sawyer said, why don't they just do a launch attempt, and if it scrubs, it turns into a wet dress? Well, when you do a launch attempt, you still evacuate the village, but you clear the range a decent amount more, especially through the NOTAMs, NOTMARs, TFRs. If you get closer to T0, all those activate, at which point that's a lot of sea and air disruption. And if you don't launch because of an abort, then that becomes a headache for everyone. That's not something you really want to deal with. And not only that, a wet dress rehearsal allows you to mess with things. It allows you to do holds in different parts of the count, allows you to experiment with the things here and there. They have a lot more flexibility because they're not racing, they're not trying to hit a window. When you do a wet dress, you just have the road closure. That's it. And you have that entire road closure for however long that lasts to mess with it, to load prop, to do holds, to do things that you might not be able to do during a launch campaign. So they don't really, that's why they're doing a wet dress, or at least why they would want to, I should say, do a wet dress. It's a lot more, allows for more flexibility. So just saying, oh, well, if they abort, it just becomes a wet dress. I mean, while it's partially true, it's not the same as just doing one independently of a launch day.
That's a good way to look at it. And by the way, going back to that license question, just to quote the FAA's response to NSF's question about it, in part they say, quote, since SpaceX plans to launch Starship Super Heavy V3 for the first time, a license modification is required. On May 15th, the FAA approved the license modification and authorized the Starship Flight 12 launch. So that is the official response to NSF from the Federal Aviation Administration on that launch license. So we can confirm that is at least good to go, and that's what we like to hear. Let me thank some people here, and then we'll get to more of your questions, because I see a bunch of them coming in. Karen Mears saying NSF is amazing. Thank you. Thank you as well for watching. Bideford saying there's always fun times when KMR is on. About time. That is the truth. Marconim saying I was born May 21st, and also I am from Europe, so flight 12 on my birthday? I mean, that's what we're hoping is the 21st of May. Jerwa with a $50 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com, a more direct way of supporting us, which we also appreciate, saying, send it. I want to send it. Come on, but you got to finish stacking it so we can send it. Speaking of, Retro Clinic is asking, do we know why the ship seems to be stacking so slowly? I mean, we've seen those chopsticks move, and this, Ryan, feels kind of slow.
I said before, this is the heaviest ship they've ever stacked. Block 3, at least I'm pretty sure Block 3 is heavier than any of the previous designs. With some of they've added more COPVs by the looks of things. There's more stringers. There's more stuff added. I think it actually is heavier, but we can debate that all the long day. But the one thing you can't debate is they have added I think it's like 40 plus tons with the 22 sats on board, so that adds a decent amount of weight to it. It's still not as heavy as a booster, very likely. I kind of doubt that, but it still is the heaviest ship likely they've ever stacked. And it is only the second time they've stacked a ship on this pad. It's a new pad. The chopsticks are smaller. They have a slightly different setup with the rigging, on the sticks themselves. Instead of a five reeve traveling block, it's 6, so it can do it as a better mechanical advantage. It can do more weight. So there's different changes to these sticks compared to pad 1 and stuff. And there's also, why rush it? Why rush the stack? I mean, as of right now, you're not likely testing the whatever testing you're going to do, whether it's a wet dress or partial. You're not doing that till tomorrow. So take your time, get it on the pad, don't damage it. You can get the SQD hooked up over the course of the night, get any pneumatic testing or gas testing out of the way, check out both vehicles, do your test, and then you do your final checkouts over the last day and go on the 21st. There's just no reason to rush it, really. I think eventually they'll get much faster with stacking, but for now, they're taking their time.
Speaking of testing, one thing that we have been seeing over and over and over and over again is them testing that Deluge system over at Pad 2. I mean, there are 8 or 9 of them at this point already in the last couple days. Any idea, Alex, why they're doing so many?
They really seem to be trying to get those timings down and being able to test that Deluge system as much as they can. Try to get all those timings correctly for launch. Yeah, because, I mean, we saw already, well before the wet dress rehearsal happened, one of the top deck generators blew its top off, basically. It was sort of like in cartoon movies, I guess. But yeah, it just down to just testing that a lot and trying to get the timings right. It did really seem like they were doing it many times. I think it was like 2 or 3 times a day for the past 4 or 5 days. So yeah, it turns out into like 8, 9, 10 Deluge tests just in the last few days. It's been crazy, but hey, It's good. It's watering the plants.
Breaking news: the ship is translating over. It's rotating.
It is.
Yeah.
There you go. It's at high. It's high enough.
But that's a lot of water. How many thousands of gallons is that per test?
Oh, that's
roughly?
Ryan thing.
The top deck deluge itself. Stand by. I have that number written down here.
If anyone's going to
I
have the
think
numbers, I trust Ryan Weber.
The top deck deluge, I think, is somewhere around 100 and it's like 140,000 gallons for the 3 tanks that it's got, something along those lines. And they use most of that, I think, in a single firing. If not, then they only use a part of it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically the whole thing holds like all the tanks combined hold like 800,000 gallons. And even if they're using half of that, that's 400,000 gallons per firing, or something like that. So like they're using times 10 there. You're in the couple million gallons of water, a total within the last like week that they've fired off out of the deluge. Like it's kind of nuts to think about it. They needed to figure something out. Timings, or maybe they were seeing a fault and they were trying to isolate it and get rid of it. The thing is the trench deluge, they can test that with a booster static fire. They'll be able to test it with a ship static fire over at the Cape. And then the problem is the top deck deluge, they can only test that in flight, in actual like flight conditions. So its true test will be maybe in 49 hours, 2 minutes, and 17 seconds.
How much did you say for both top deck and the trench? I want to compare it with all the rockets.
All the tanks combined?
Yeah.
The entire system holds 800,000 gallons. Something like that, I think.
Okay, I was trying to quickly look it up, like for SLS.
The most, I believe, currently, or the largest water tower in existence currently, is the one over at 36 for New Glenn.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
does it
3/4
discharge
of a million.
entirely?
If I remember, I don't think it. I think it discharges like 450,000 total.
Because I
thought
know
it was more than that.
for the SLS water deluge, it says here in the NASA website, it's about 450,000 gallons. So this will be almost double that.
I thought New Glenn was 750,000. It was close, but yeah. Chat, I'm sure, will correct
look it
us
up.
because chat.
As far as I know, because I looked it up a while back. The only water deluge that's bigger in reservoir than the current one at Pad 2 is the one at Stennis. But that is literally a reservoir that feeds multiple test stands. So
Yeah, and also, to be fair, both at 36 and at 39, the water tower itself is not there to store, it's to create the pressure for the water. The water storage actually happens relative to, it's sort of like in between 39A and 39B for the 39A, for the 39 complex, excuse me. And it sort of feeds the tower at 39A that Falcon Heavy now uses, because it's no longer Falcon 9 / Falcon Heavy, now it's just Falcon Heavy. And then also, it also feeds the one north for LC39B. That one is actually like in the millions of gallons. It's huge tanks. I think there's 3 of them in that area. So in terms of storage, of course, there's a different. But my point was trying to find the actual usage of how much gallons they use for the deluge. And it appears, at least for SLS, is about 450,000, which will be about half of this, which is crazy.
yes.
Regardless, that is a lot. And
Yeah.
J-Volt was wondering, do they recapture any of that water? Is it all fresh water?
So
Ryan,
it's
you
all
wanna take
potable
that?
water, because they get it from Brownsville. It is potable, all of it. The stuff in the trench, anything that's left over inside the trench, they can recapture. They have sump pumps in the trench. Anything that lands in the wetlands or in their retention pool, they do not. MOVAC trucks come in and clean out the retention pool, and the stuff in the wetlands, well, it stays there. It is potable water when they put it in, and when it comes out, Well, let's just say it gets interacted with nitrous oxide because of the not really methyl but the methane oxygen burners for the gas generators. So technically speaking, that's no longer potable. It would be an industrial process. So that would be industrial process water going out into the wetlands, which unless they have a license to say that they can't do, but that's going down a whole rabbit hole we don't really need to go down. We'll just put it that way. What they put in is potable water. I'll just put it that way. So.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of how much do I really want to drink that afterwards. But
I wouldn't.
Yeah. And like you were saying, Alex, they were the plants are being watered. I think the plants are drowned at that point around there.
Hey, look, it carries nitrogen oxides, right? So that's nitrogen. They say that nitrogen is good for plants.
There you go. I like the way you think on that one, Alex. That's good. While we're talking about things being kind of loaded up and super filled and things like that, a user with a fantastic name here, Sawyer6410, asking, how do the vents work on Super Heavy if the propellant is filled to the very top of the tank? How do they vent gas if liquid fuel surrounds them? Alex, do you want to try that one?
Well, we've seen at least when they've opened the vents before, they do suck in a little bit of, or rather, they do vent off a little bit of liquid when it's fully topped off. But normally, at least on the previous version, what they would do is like inside of the tank, the vents actually were the ends leading to pipes that were actually like right at the top. So like there will be various vents, various pipes at the top of the tank that then will lead to those vents that you can see. I mean, if this camera was a little bit lower, you can sort of see it in the other camera. You can see the vents, and so there will be pipes that will go up to the top of the bulkhead instead, and that's where they will draw the air to pressure to sort of do the pressure out for the vents basically. But if it's too filled up, then you can still suck in some of the liquid, and we've seen this when it was fully topped off on wet dress rehearsal last Monday, not this week Monday, but last week's Monday. It was venting, and the first thing that it shot off was basically a bit of liquid, and then it started with gas. Basically, it continued with the gas. So that sometimes happens. It's a thing, and they're still allowed to vent sometimes a little bit of methane here and there. It's not a big deal. Same deal happens with the oxygen tank, with the common dome as well. Usually what you will have is like a set of pipes that tries to reach up to the top of the tank instead, so that you can then vent a little bit lower. In that case, that was at least in the case of the previous version. I'm sure it must be here, because otherwise this thing will never be able to be filled up entirely, basically.
So it sounds almost kind of like a snorkel a bit. Like if you ever go snorkeling, you have the little tube coming out, and occasionally you get water in it, so you just have to give it a quick blow to get the extra water out, and then it's back to breathing in. So it kind of reminds me of that. Let's see here. We are almost stacked at this point. Ryan, how do the attachment points on the now integrated hot staging ring here compare to what we saw on V2?
So on V2, they basically, it was kind of a little lip with a hook that kind of went like this, just kind of hooked in like that. On this one, they're actually like little kind of hook arms that come up and hook in like this and then go like that. Is kind of how they work. There's 3 of them. They are, I'm trying to remember if they're equidistant on this one or not, because they did change the spacing of the ship clamps. But either way, it's a new design, and with the new clamp design, they actually go back into that CNC'd out truss integrated truss ring there. So they're protected during hot staging, unlike last time where they were, what was it? On the hot stage ring itself, the one they basically dumped, they would damage those and probably just kind of blast them with exhaust. Well, they're not doing that anymore. The hot stage is getting saved because it's now basically as part of the booster now instead of something they just throw away, because it's not an add-on anymore. But it's a new design, and we'll see how well it works. The last one worked pretty well. I mean, it held Ship 24 and Booster 7 together when they were flipping, through the air. So we'll see how this one works too.
Yeah, that one almost worked too well, but yeah. Hopefully we'll actually see a proper separation again, which they got pretty good at that. And of course, now finally with that integrated hot stage ring, not having to then jettison that as well after deploying Ship 39 on its way.
There's also another thing that SpaceX told in their website update, sort of about version 3, where they explained that actually after the ship separates, it also gets retracted. The clamp sort of retracts, and is able to sort of get protected against both the re-entry and also even the ship's engines itself. So that's really good and really nice, because yeah, you don't want that kind of system to be roasted. You want it to be reusable.
Yeah, I didn't even think of something about that, because with all the other points where it would just kind of stick up, it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to jettison the hot stage ring anyway, it's going to burn up, it's not reused, who cares? Yeah, now it's kind of important when you plan on being able to reuse the version 3 boosters multiple times.
Yep.
Let me thank some people here. Another Alex getting some items at the shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, saying, glad the window shifted as I'm busy when it would have opened. Here's hoping that whenever it does launch, NSF will get great views and cooperative clouds and lightning. Any forecast on that front? I know that there's been some iffy weather, it looks like, on the forecast for Thursday. Originally, there were thunderstorms that were planned, but do we know yet what the weather forecast is looking like?
I know for Thursday, it's a chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny, high near 86, 8 to 16 miles an hour, chance of precipitation around 30%, and we don't know when in the day that might happen. I'd have to look at the actual sounding modeling data from that day. I haven't had an updated look since like this morning. But as far as I know, it still looks okay. I think there's a chance of clouds and other things like that right now. But of course, with a 30% chance of thunderstorms, there's always the chance that it happens. We've only had one weather scrub. That was, that was the second scrub of Flight 10 after they blew out a line, an entire SQD line. The LOX line hose decided to burst during prop load, right at the start of prop load, luckily. So, yeah, we'll see if, that goes. We'll see if they have to push again because of weather. They can push to Friday. We'll just kind of cover this here. With weather-wise, they could push to Friday. Friday itself is looking 20% chance of slight showers and thunderstorms. So there's basically that's for Thursday. So you might have some higher clouds up in the
May
into the window
22nd UTC. So that would be May 21st local time in Starbase, and that would be 90 minutes into the window. And again, as pointed out there, basically when the dew point and the air temperature overlap at that point, that's when you kind of get that cloud layer. And so those are the different potential cloud layers. And you can also see there what it's looking like in terms of air temperature. So potential for some clouds there, but it doesn't look too terrible at this point. But again, we are still a couple days out. And this, I believe, a look at the wind that we're expecting
profile
here. Yep, especially as it climbs.
Not concerning, I will say. The wind seems to be okay-ish. But yeah, I looked up on the National Weather Forecast as well for Brownsville area, and it does seem that yes, there's going to be a lot of clouds as well. There might be rain in the early afternoon, sort of like right after noon, like 1-2 p.m. This launch, of course, being at 5:30 p.m. I don't know if that will delay things. Can they start a tank farm in the in the rain?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Because that will probably be about around the time where you would expect probably the tank farm already being up and running and all that stuff. I don't know if the launch site will already be clear. Maybe it will by the time that rain happens. The question is, will it still be good? Like, will all of that rain go away by the time 5:30 comes around? And so that is the big question. Of course, as you mentioned, Sawyer, that wind profile, so not the wind profile, excuse me, the previous temperature profile that we saw was for 90 minutes after the opening of the window. That is the end of the window. So it gives us an idea of how the weather will be, at least at the end of that window. So yeah, I'm hoping for good weather, but we'll see.
Yeah, let's just hope it doesn't look like it does right now. You can see there in that top right square. There we go. That is, I believe, from the Margaritaville Hotel over on South Padre Island. Great place to watch the launch from, if you can get a room there. And yeah, that's pretty bad visibility. There, I promise, there is a Starship stack in that frame. You may not be able to see it right now, but I promise it's there. So, yeah, that's a little rough. See, there it is. There's the real one. I promise you it was
There's
there.
a stack.
Let's see here. Zeta Infinite, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Are excited. Yes, we are excited. Wondering, Starlink cams expecting the thermal protection system implies the ship will rotate 180 degrees after deployment. Will we see the ship spin on its axis from space? Ryan, what do you think?
Well, here's the problem: is when they do this payload deploy, it's in nighttime. If they have live stream cameras on board the two satellites that they want to use for this imaging, and they are like IR cams, then yeah, we might see the ship do a roll. It won't be a barrel roll. It's more like an aileron roll, but it doesn't have ailerons, if you know what I mean. It'll roll with its RCS thrusters, but yeah, it'll roll on its axis and kind of roll over. And then the cameras on board are supposed to image the ship using the colored tiles. So there's white and gray tiles to simulate, I think the white's to simulate missing tiles, and the gray are markers to say, here is to give the cameras and the software an idea of where on the ship it's looking at. And the whole point of that is to make sure, like, oh, the heat shield is in good shape, it's good to go, we're good for re-entry, and it'd be kind of important for Starlink missions after the fact and other things. Like, when you have a ship re-entering over land, you want to make sure the heat shield's good, you know, because Sawyer, as someone who knows a lot about shuttle, they used to look at the heat shield on shuttle on certain missions, because I know they did it like on ISS missions and whatnot.
It took till after STS-107, yes, and then I mean, they also, I think they did it on Hubble as well, using the OBSS, the Over Boom Sensor System, which was an additional arm that they attached to the end of the robotic arm that they had, the Canadarm, to then go ahead and scan all of those tiles, send it back down to the ground for them to look at. They did that both the day after launch and the day before entry. Sorry, continue with Starship stuff.
That was the selfie stick.
Kind of, yeah. It was kind of like a selfie stick, although it had other different wavelengths and bands and things in it so that you could actually see more of the detail.
Yeah. I want to point out one thing. You don't need to rotate the ship 180 degrees. And there's a good reason why. Can we show me full screen for a second? That is why. Because it's not all the way on the back. It's not all the way here, right in the middle of the belly. It's on the side, actually. The tiles are on the side. In theory, they shouldn't need a full 180 degrees. If anything, it's actually a full 360 degrees to completely see the entire ship. Because it's on this side, and it's also on the other. So if you want to see the white tiles, the ship not only has to rotate to this side, facing the satellites, but also the other side. And besides, I mean, have we considered maybe the satellites will move too?
Yeah, they have RCS on them.
Well,
or the ship does like 90s.
I just proposed that perhaps also the satellites may have their own thing, because, you know, they're less
might.
fake satellites. They're more realer satellites than the other 20, right?
Realer?
So, realer or realer or whatever it's a word.
Just more real.
They are less fake than the other, right? So that's my point. That maybe because they are less fake, they also are like actual full-on spacecraft with their own propulsion systems and everything. Who knows? Like, we really don't know. All that SpaceX has told us is, yeah, they'll image the heat shield. That's it. We're just, figuring out things as they go. We'll see what happens actually in flight. I hope this doesn't turn out into something like, when V2 happened and we were wondering if the flaps will actually work and things like that, the ones in the front that they change. And we did not figure that out for like 3-4 flights. So I hope that this one will figure it out on this flight.
I
Yeah.
wonder. During like Starlink flights going forward, if they would keep doing this until they're more confident in the heat shield, like they would have like the last 2 sats or something actually image the heat shield every time, or something like that, until they got far more confident in it. I wonder if they would do that going forward. Be kind of interesting. We'll see.
They could also use the new thrusters, right, on the ship. It's got a zillion of them now compared to the last version. So they might be able to use all of those. Because the ship has to do all of those rotations and everything and then position itself for the relight of the Raptor, because that happens like 10 minutes after the final deployment. And these are the 2 last deployments, right? So it needs to do all of the rotations and everything rather quickly.
Is that the official number from SpaceX, a bajillion?
Yeah, sure. And SpaceX just tweeted. We'll probably show that sometime.
There you go. There's the official number. Oliver Redmond saying, Deluge water's got what plants crave. Nice. The nitrogen. See a lot of people making the nitrogen jokes in chat. I like it. And then Kimberly saying, thanks for all the great coverage. Getting one of the Starship Flight 12 patches. That is awesome. I'm glad you're getting them now, because I've been told in the back channel here that we are actually starting to run low on patches now. We have already gone through more than half of our collection of Starship Flight 12 patches. And as is the case with these patches, once they are gone, they are gone. They are not coming back. Yes, that is the breaking news part of it. We are getting low. So if you want to get a patch, especially with the flight coming up on launch day, those things are going to fly like hotcakes. So grab it now while you have the chance and while we still have them. But you can always get it in other items that we have, like, there you go, on baby onesies, also on shirts and mugs, and one of my other favorite things, I love collecting pins, and we now have the pins as well of all of the different Starship flights. So you can add that to your pin collection too. There you go. Especially the people who got the bundle that we had of the first 11 Starship flights. Now you can make it complete with the newest one here. And when you go on to actually buy it, you can go into the details on the patch of, we have in the shop come there, how was it designed, what all the different colors means. Jacques, who did it, does an amazing job. So you can check that all out, shop.nasaspaceflight.com, and I believe that link is going to be spammed incessantly in chat, so all of you can check that out too. I know Lindsay's waiting with the copy-paste. There it is.
Here you go.
Oh yeah, Ryan actually has the patch, which they are shipping now. This isn't a pre-order or anything. I already see people in chat saying, hey, I got mine. So
there you go.
You
will
will
show
get
my shirt, but it's in the laundry right now.
Mine too.
I think this is the one that I'm wearing. It's actually from Flight 2. So this one is actually old.
Back to questions here. Maddie Surfer saying, I come to you for all my space needs. Well, we're happy to help you out with that. Will the booster and ship land in the ocean, or will we catch? I think it might be good because I see some people just asking, like, what is the plan for Flight 12? How does it differ from Flight 11? Alex, can you kind of just walk us through what the plan is, kind of an overview for Flight 12 here?
Well, if you just were to read like a list of the different things that are going to happen on Flight 12, you will say, well, that is very much Flight 11, and you will be right. Because for the most part, this is going to be a copy of Flight 11. And the main reason is because this thing that they are right now stacking is a new version of a rocket. And so they need to make sure that it actually can do the things that the previous ships and boosters could do. And so the booster will be expended in the Gulf. It'll attempt sort of like a simulation of a catch out there in the Gulf. And then the ship will go out to the Indian Ocean. We've seen this a bazillion times, as I said before. Exactly, right? But the point is, if it can do that with a new version, now this version can do more things in the future. So it can build up from there. There needs to be sort of like a base from where you build up to be able to make sure that you can actually go ahead. So future vehicles might actually go into orbit. The booster will be able to come back to the pad and be caught. A lot of people were asking why they're not catching. This is a step back. And it's like, well, I point back to Flight 11. They did not catch the booster. They did not catch the ship. It's a basis. It's like the foundation upon which every other event will happen. The point of not catching in this case, it's because the pad is also active in this whole thing of catching a vehicle, whether it's the booster or the ship. And it's also the first flight. And we know what happened on Flight 6, right? With, the whole thing with the communications to the tower and everything. That was a clear example where the booster was okay. It was good to go. It could have been caught and all that, but the pad was not ready for it. And so that is the kind of thing that you really want to test out on this very first flight from that pad. I'm really curious. We had a question on our latest Starship update that we released yesterday night, I think it was, where somebody was asking, will we see a simulated catch with the chopsticks? And I can tell you, we'll definitely keep an eye on those chopsticks, because who knows, maybe they will do some kind of test catch or something like that. And so that is very important as well for the future, catching boosters, reusing them, accelerating the launch cadence, and of course in the future that ship carries docking hardware that will be used on future vehicles as well. If all that survives re-entry, then they can also reuse that in the future. There's a lot of things riding on this that it's like, this is the foundation. You build up from here for later flights. But yeah, there are a few little changes. Most notable ones, of course, apart from flying a new vehicle, this one is flying southeast out of Starbase instead of heading straight east. It's going between Cuba and the Yucatan instead of between Cuba and Florida. And then during the landing of the ship, instead of so it'll do 3, 2, 1 engines instead of just 3 and 2, because Raptor 3 is very, very powerful in comparison with Raptor 2, at least for the ship itself. But that's basically the two major changes in the profile itself. As we were talking about 22 Starlink simulators, there's going to be some imaging, right? Other than that, still an in-space relay test, lots of different heat shield stuff with the cameras and everything that they're doing. There's only one missing tile this time around. It's going to be a much cleaner re-entry in that case. So that's basically it.
That is basically it, but it's a really good kind of overview of it. And I know SpaceX is already starting to post about their overviews of things as well as we get closer. By the way, we were talking about the splashdown location. That is the re-entry hazard area of where that could potentially happen. So
Yep.
I believe that was that Madagascar on the left and Australia to the right.
Yep.
Yep.
By the way,
I know
people are
geography.
complaining we're not showing the post.
Here you go. Here's
There
the
it is.
post.
I mentioned it before. We were waiting to prepare that asset.
So
Yes.
I just want to point out with this post, so it says Starship and Super Heavy V3 moved to the pad at Starbase for final testing and preparations for launch. So there you go. SpaceX
Yep.
is still doing a final test. So we don't know if it could be a wet dress, could be a partial tanking, but at SpaceX basically saying they got one final test to do before they launch. One of the really cool images from this, and something we've never gotten before, is an onboard shot on rollout. Ship 39 using one of its forward flap cameras to take a picture of itself during rollout. It's that third picture there,
Yeah, the bottom
looking
left.
down from the forward flap. But I don't think we've ever gotten that before. So it means they had the vehicle powered on and taking pictures of itself as it was rolling down the road. So yeah, there's a lot of different cool stuff. I think on the second one there, yeah, there you go. There's that
at
picture
that.
of it.
You can see the
that's
docking
from
port.
the forward flap cam. It's kind of cool. It's taking a picture of itself rolling down Highway 4.
And we got the decal on it too. It says S39.
2 decals,
Yep.
S39 and the SpaceX logo on the front.
Yep.
So they got both those on it. No weird ones, just nice, nice simple decals. I'm still waiting for decals on the booster, by the way, SpaceX, if you're listening. I want to see like a booster 20 or like a B20. I just want to see that on the top or something along those lines. Yeah, it's so SpaceX is saying we're gonna get more testing, and here's a post to dedicate to the SpaceX engineers and technicians. Group photo with the booster and a group photo with the ship, and then of course a bunch of workers looking from the factory plus the office building as the ship rolls by during the morning today. So yeah, we're getting close. We're net minus 48 hours, 33 minutes, almost exactly 2 days away. Are getting there, and they're lining up. The ship wasn't kind of lined up before, but as you can see, it's getting closer. If you look on the booster, you'll see a little tab sticking up around the hot stage ring, and then on the ship, you'll see kind of an area, and there's like 2 indents with like a straight piece on the inside, like right above that. That little piece sticking up out of the top of the ring needs to like line up dead center with that, and then of course they got to line up the ship in all axes before they lower it down and then lock it into place. So they're still lining it up. They're taking their time, make sure it's right on the mark. But yeah, we're getting closer to a fully stacked Starship here in Flight 12. Like Saturday when we did Countdown to Launch, it didn't really feel like we were 3 days away. It kind of feels like we're 2 days away now because we almost got a full stack at the pad now. And we got closures, we got NOTAMs, we got NOTMARs. That actually feels like we're there. So, it's getting real.
It is getting
I just
real,
said
yeah. It's amazing that we're finally feeling it. Yeah, when you're out there and we're doing the countdown to launch and it's an empty pad, it's a totally different feeling versus now with the actual stack and everything. Also, it just amazes me that part of lining up this giant, massive ship and booster is that tiny little pin, although I say tiny just in comparison, because obviously it's still pretty large given how big Starship is.
That was the shortest Alex answer ever.
I just agreed. I just said yeah. It was not even an
figured you would
answer.
have,
It was a
like-
reaction.
20-minute answer to respond to Ryan.
The only other thing that I will say is that
See?
it's not even related. It's not even related. It's about the SpaceX tweet, okay? In the one showing the workers, there was actually the one for the ship, I think it was. There was a couple of people with the Artemis 2 shirt, the official one from NASA. Too bad they were not wearing our merch. But I've seen some other pictures where they wear our merch, some of them. So, just saying.
I mean, it brings it back to the whole idea and a reminder that this is part of the Artemis program. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. People forget that Starship is contracted as one of 2 lunar landers for the NASA Artemis program. So for Artemis 3, the goal is to have one of these HLS variants, Human Landing Services variants, ready to go in orbit so that Orion can do rendezvous and docking testing with it. And it is assumed that whichever one is ready first will be the lander for Artemis 4, very likely to be SpaceX, as they were the ones who originally got the contract for that first lunar landing. But we'll see. Let's see here. S. Murphy was saying, Flight 11 was visible from Florida. Do you expect with the new trajectory? I can say that I have seen some meteorologists in South Florida on the TV stations saying, hey, you might be able to see it. This is one, it seems like, though, where the further south you are, the better chance you would have of seeing it. So we're talking Key West, Miami, and that area, versus, say, the Space Coast, where we have seen it in the past, clearly visible from Cape Canaveral. So, again, it won't hurt to go out and look if you're in the area, but it seems like the more south you are, the better shot you would have. And also, probably, the later in the window if you get closer to that jellyfish effect, when it's much more visible.
So,
Yes?
you know how expensive or cheap flights to Cancun might be? That's probably
Um,
the easiest way if you're in Florida to see this launch.
if I wasn't busy broadcasting with NSF, I would look at the ticket prices. But yeah, no, I'll be here with all of you watching on stream, so don't worry.
Yeah, it's probably a better chance if you are somewhere around the Yucatan and things like that, because it's gonna go basically way south. I really doubt there's gonna be anything visible from Florida this time around. It's not flying near you guys, but maybe a future flight might fly right over your heads. Just saying.
If you go to Jamaica or Puerto Rico, or the Cayman Islands, you might see it pretty well, or like St.
That's true.
Vincent or Grenada, you might get a good view of a jellyfish effect of the, or at least the exhaust effect of it expanding out. You might get a good view of that if you go to any of those places. So, or southern Hispaniola. Yeah.
Just what if you're trying to fly near Turks and Caicos?
You're not going to experience any issues this time around, or through the Bahamas or anything. They're going south of that, so all those major airline routes up there are not going to be affected. So, which helps a lot for a lot of things.
Yeah, and in terms of the timeline, of course, the farther along in flight, the better shot you might have. This is the timeline of events that we're expecting here, and the parentheses is how that compares to what it was for version 2. So that was with the minus 15 and minus 19 there is. It's 19 seconds earlier. And you can see it's still going to do that sort of boost back attempt as if we're coming back to land at the tower, or excuse me, be caught at the tower. Every time I always get Falcon and Starship mixed up. I always say catch Falcon and land Starship. But in this case, it would indeed be performing a landing burn right above the Gulf, and then very likely falling into the Gulf from height from there, likely to break up. And then, of course, you can see there the plans for the in-flight demo, and then, of course, the re-entry portion here, going transonic, subsonic, so getting below the speed of sound now, starting that landing burn, which still going to be the usual flip and burn, as you can see there, indicating the flip, and then splash down, about a minute earlier than all previous V2 flights.
Well, the engine shut off. The Seco is like a minute earlier because, and also for those who didn't notice, the Max Q is a decent amount earlier as well because Raptor 3 is a little bit more powerful than Raptor 2. So you get a higher thrust to weight ratio for the whole stack, so which means the booster reaches its desired velocity and altitude much quicker, and the ship will as well. So the entire timeline kind of is quicker by about a minute because of the more powerful vehicle that SpaceX now has. So it's a really nice thing for Raptor 3, and they're only going to make it more powerful as they get more comfortable with it. They want to hit 280 tons of thrust with it early. They're operating it at 250 at the moment. But I think as they get more comfortable with it, and I think the ship's almost down, by the way. I think when they get more comfortable with it, they'll up it to 280.
Still a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, almost like the Space Shuttle main engines went up to 104.5% of rated thrust, and Artemis, I believe, up to 109% with V2. Oh yeah, there is not going to be a version 2 to go to 111%, but yeah. Let me thank some more people here because there's been a massive amount of support coming through, and I want to acknowledge everyone as well. Duthamer with the super chat asking, how quickly does Isla Blanca Park fill up before launches? If I recall, it fills up pretty quickly. I don't know if either of you have the numbers or have been there or can give a rough idea of how long it is, but
I would assume it fills up quickly. I have not been down there myself. I do need to go at some point. Maybe for the first ship catch attempt, I'll try to go. But I would assume it fills up pretty quickly. I wouldn't be that surprised, especially for a flight like this. New pad, new stack. You can already tell by the amount of cars that are down there. It's pretty busy, so I would not be shocked if it filled up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would definitely get there hours in advance. Don't try and pull up like an hour and a half before. I know we also Rocket Ranch usually has some viewing options there, so we appreciate that they allow us to put a camera out there. Another good place to check out. And I also believe that they are offering boat viewing of launches with Starfleet tours. Not sponsored by them. I've just used them in the past, and they're good people there. And I believe they said they still have openings if you want to go out on a boat to watch it. So those are all different viewing options, of course, to keep an eye on. Trevor, getting some stuff from the shop, saying thanks for continued great coverage. Well, thank you for getting the patch and enjoy it. Chris Barnett, so glad I got my Flight 12 patch and pin. Both arrived yesterday in time for launch. Love hearing that. Again, if you get stuff, tag the NSF shop team over on socials, and don't forget we post other awesome stuff over on all of the NSF socials: X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky. So check it out. John, Flight 12, let's go. Thanks for the awesome coverage. Curtis Foster, so is today just stacking it and tomorrow WDR? Ryan, I believe that's the plan.
That is the plan. As SpaceX posted in their post not too long ago, they said they're going to do more testing, and they still have a flight closure that they have not gotten rid of. That's tomorrow at 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., so it kind of gives them a large window to get it done in. But I would not be surprised if SpaceX got it done as early as possible in order to get it out of the way, and then they can refill the pad as much as possible, because doing a wet dress and then a launch attempt, if they tried to do another launch attempt after that, it might be iffy refilling the tank farm quick enough for that. I know they can do 24-hour turnarounds between two, but if you fill the rocket twice in a row with after a wet dress and then maybe a scrub, that might put Friday at a little bit of a kind of iffy state. So the earlier they can do the wet dress, the more they can fill up the tank farm, the more chance they probably have. If they scrub on Thursday, they can try to go on Friday, depending on how much they feel it. So that's going to be kind of a question mark to see. My guess is that closure will just stay in place and they'll just use that. They'll close when they want to. They'll do the test when they want to, and get it done and get it out of the way. And then I would not be surprised if a backup closure for Friday pops up, because that hasn't popped up yet, but a backup beach closure for Friday pops up. And then if for any reason they cannot make it Thursday or Friday, they'll have to wait till Tuesday because of Memorial Day weekend. So as of right now, looks like it's nearly stacked. There's a slight gap left, but it's nearly stacked here. They'll do checkouts over the course of the night. They'll do their test tomorrow. Then they'll do final checkouts, clearing out the launch site of any unneeded stuff. I don't know when the transport stands will roll back, but I expect the transport stands will roll back once they're confident they don't need to destack the vehicles at all. And then they'll go into launch readiness on Thursday and go through the count. So, yeah.
Nothing to add, Alex?
What am I going to say? Okay, I can say more things. What if, really, really hypothetical situation here, we know that they have enough propellant in the tank farm and commodities. It's not just propellant, because liquid nitrogen is also used quite a lot in the tank farm. They have enough commodities in theory for 2 back-to-back attempts. But they're already doing a wet dress rehearsal, hopefully tomorrow, on Wednesday, and then the launch attempt on Thursday. What if, hypothetical situation here, they do the wet dress rehearsal tomorrow, Wednesday, then they do a launch attempt on Thursday, but for whatever reason, deep into the countdown, they have to hold and scrub, for example. Could they still do an attempt on Friday in terms of commodities? Will they need like a lot of tankers? Do we know any of that?
It depends.
Because I'm really wondering.
That's what I was saying. If they do the wet dress early enough tomorrow, or whatever, and they fill the full stack and everything like that, the more time they have between the end of that and the start of wanting to have the launch site clear for launch operations, the more time available, the better for more tankers, so they can top off whatever they lost. If they can fully top off the tank farm in that amount of time, then awesome. They can probably have a scrub on Thursday and try again on Friday. If for some reason they can't top it fully off, it depends on how much they have left. I do know that I don't remember how much total locks they have. I'd have to run the numbers again. They only have 4 tanks full of LN2. Their methane capacity has been significantly increased since the last launch. They have, I think it's on the realm of like 6,000, it's nearly 6,000 cubic meters of liquid methane right now. They have 2 1,000 cubic meter tanks, and then they have 4 950 cubic meter ones. I don't know if the other 2 older RIB ones have been hooked back in yet, but they basically have enough. They should have enough methane for close to over 2 launches, nearly 2.5, or more than that. That's kind of like the goal for a launch complex like this, is to try to have like 2.5 launches worth of prop available. They don't have that in LOX and LN2, not yet. They'd have to bring in more tanks. And funny enough, there's more tanks waiting at the Port Connector Road, waiting to be installed either at the launch site or somewhere else. So they do plan on expanding more. They just haven't gotten to that point yet. But either way, we'll see what happens. I think that's just kind of like see when the wet dress happens, how many tankers they can bring in, and how much they lose. And well, if they do scrub on Thursday, do they say that, oh, well, because we did the wet dress, we can't go on Friday and we'll have to go on Tuesday? Or if they say, oh, we can actually turn around. I think the only time we'll know for sure is if they do scrub on Thursday for some reason, any reason, and they are late into the count, and they say, oh, well, because we did this, we can't go tomorrow. That's about probably the first time we'll know. Because it's hard to know how much they actually use per wet dress and how much they recover. So.
Yeah, because we always talk about, in general, for rockets, about that 24-hour recycle capability. For example, now SLS, starting with Artemis 2, it was able to, because they have bigger, they have like an extra hydrogen tank at 39B, and I think we also have been talking about this, for example, for Falcon 9. Falcon 9 does that all the time, and we've seen that, of course, with New Glenn as well. Falcon Heavy has one of the problems for Falcon Heavy in that case is not the commodities, the quantity of them, but rather that in a 24-hour turnaround, they need to re-subcool the liquid oxygen, for example. And it's such a huge amount of liquid oxygen that they load on Falcon Heavy that they cannot do a 24-hour turnaround. It needs to be at least 48 hours. But then we never really talk about all of the other turnarounds that can come up after that, right? Because sometimes you can do a 24-hour turnaround, but only by maybe using your existing commodities or by supplying a little bit and sort of refilling a little bit those commodities, but not entirely. And then if you scrub after those 24-hour turnaround, then maybe it's not another 24-hour, but maybe it could be like 48, or might be multiple days depending on the commodity itself. SLS, for example, it was 24 hours, and if it were to be delayed again after those 24 hours, then it will have to be a 48-hour recycle and then another 24. So these sorts of things are the things I'm really wondering about for Starship, because in the future, they're going to launch many, many times with Starship. So they really need that sort of capacity in the future. Of course, they will also have the air separation unit, LNG pipeline to purify the LNG into methane and all that stuff. But in the meantime, we still have to see trucks pulling up here.
So, just did some quick math. For the tank farm itself, they have around 5,800 cubic meters of liquid methane and around 7,600 cubic meters of liquid oxygen and around 3,800 cubic meters of liquid nitrogen. Now, the tanks themselves, a full stack worth of LOX is probably in the realm, at this point, because I have some older numbers, I'd have to rerun the numbers again, but it's probably in the 3,500 metric cubic meter range. So they have about 2 stacks worth of LOX, I think, give or take, or a little bit less, depending on where the numbers are at now, because I have really, really old numbers from like Ship 20 and Booster 4. I got to rerun them for what they've got now, because they've extended the tanks a decent amount. And the full stack back then used to be, it's probably in the realm of now like 20, could be like 2,800 cubic meters of liquid methane. So they definitely have over 2 stacks worth of liquid methane at this point. It's the liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen that they could run out, because they run through a lot of liquid nitrogen for subcooling both the methane and the oxygen side. But it depends on how much they're able to save on a recycle when they detank it, or how much they actually have to vent off. A lot of locks. Thanks. But basically, I think it'll come down to how much they can refuel between the wet dress and the first attempt on Thursday, assuming they attempt on Thursday. So it'll come down to that, and whether or not they'd be able to go again on Friday.
Hopefully we don't need to worry about that. Hopefully it just goes as it's supposed to currently Thursday. So the window opening 48 hours, 13 minutes from now. No, I'm talking, Kevin, not Alex. I'm talking this time. Because I got more people to thank here. Anyway, let me continue the support here. Andrew saying, go Flight 12, go NSF, love you guys. Getting the Flight 12 patch. Again, a reminder, we have less than half of them left, and once they are gone, they are gone. So if you want to get a patch, now is the time. Especially, again, as I mentioned, once we get to the stakeout and the launch streams and people see the patches, they are going to fly. So get one of those early ones, and they are already in stock. It's not like you're pre-ordering. They're ready to ship. People have been getting them. Gage saying, make a patch pun. I can't sew one together. Oh, come on. I was just starting to patch things up with Kevin when it comes to puns. But I guess I can thread one or two of them in when I'm talking about the patches. So, you know. Nothing, not even a groan from anyone on that one? Okay. Fine. There's the patch, by the way, in case you're wondering what we're talking about there. The awesome Flight 12 patch. So, normally my puns have people in stitches, but I guess not this time. Anyway, Anonymous getting the patch as well, saying thanks for the awesome coverage. Jacob saying clear the skies so Starship flies. Getting both the patch and the sticker sheet as well. Awesome choices there. James saying love the coverage, thank you. Getting the patch. Daniel saying let's go, love the merch and love what you do, what you all do for space nerds like myself. Also with the patch. Get so much closer to getting that full stack actually there. There's still just a tiny little gap there.
Yeah, not all the way down yet. Almost. This has been a long stack. This has been going for like 2.5 hours at least.
Longer than the countdown to launch.
Now, so
yeah, prior to the countdown to launch. JS saying great coverage. Keep up the good work. How would Starship carry large volume payloads since it only has a small payload door? Could it go Hippo style like Rocket Lab? I mean, Alex, I know that this is just kind of the initial design for the payloads, right?
Well, if you have a high volume payload, you have two options. You can cut it in slices and try to fit it out the PES door, or you fly with somebody else. Just fly with somebody else.
For now,
That's basically what SpaceX is doing. Yeah, at least for the foreseeable future, like at least for the next few years, probably out to the end of the decade. Yeah, that's basically it. There was some breaking news, if you will, today from VAST, talking about making new satellites as well. Not only they're making their Haven 1, Haven 2 stations, but they're now also in the space satellite business. And they're flat packed. They already have a launch booked even for late 2027. I wonder what big rocket can launch big flat packed satellites. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe that thing?
Yeah, no, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
That thing, well, that's the old version. That's like
just point to your
one,
other side. It's right next to your head.
But either way, it's the one in front of us. Yeah.
But yeah. To briefly summarize what I was trying to mean, it seems like for the foreseeable future, that could be the next 4 or 5 years, it seems like SpaceX is not thinking about the Hippo door or whatever you want to call it, the jumper, all that stuff. They're just exclusively looking at payloads that may be deployed with a PES dispenser, basically. And VAST might be one of those. There are other people out there that are talking to SpaceX to launch their stuff on Starship, and they will. Yeah, there you go. If you have a payload that can fit through that, good job. That's your way out of the Starship. Slice your high volume payload in his dispenser sized chunks.
Eventually, they'll probably make a shuttle style door, but I expect it's not going to be for a bit because SpaceX is focused on tankers, HLS, Starlink, and SlopLink. Oh, AI, the AI sats. I'm calling them SlopLinks. They've been doing it. But their AI satellites that they want to put up there, basically it all either fits through the little door or it doesn't need a payload bay door at all. So it might be a bit before they come up with the door. They need to get the main design down for ship first and then figure it out.
Ryan catering in the back channel. Someone figured out how to fold James Webb down to slide out of piss. All of the folding and everything that needed to happen, the 344 unfolds and everything. Yeah, now imagine having to further fold it down to fit the piss.
3,043 unfolds to go, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, 70,000 unfolds.
Oh, man. That was a good laugh. James saying, go SpaceX, have a good flight. Hope you have your ticket to fly. Hakon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know about you, chat, but I think NSF is pretty cool. Yeah, they're all right. They're not bad. They're a little on the nerdy side. Just, I don't know. Jurgen saying, I was at Starbase last week, all the way from the Netherlands. By chance, there was a small chance I would be seeing the launch. Then it all got postponed. Better luck next time. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you. Lucas, good evening from Germany. Thank you for the great work and also the famous patches. Hashtag, is that Flug12/Flight12? Thankfully, Adrian's not here to make fun of me for that. Buzzlax, thank you for the support. Joshua, I've been watching for a long time. Absolutely love to hear the commentary. Makes it a lot more informative. Thank you for everything you guys do. Warped Space coming in with a question saying, with max Q at 45 seconds, is Starship V3 now the fastest liquid fuel rocket ever to reach max Q? I believe it is with everything I've been reading. Do we know, Ryan?
If it's the fastest ever.
The fastest liquid-fueled rocket ever to reach max Q. Because if you saw Vega C last night, that thing gets there pretty fast. But in terms of
I was going to say, does it count if it's liquid but boosted by solar rocket boosters?
I was about to say, yeah.
It's Atlas 5. Boy.
Atlas 5 is pretty quick too, yeah.
Yeah.
To get to max Q, because it's liquids plus solids. Purely liquid, it might be. I'd have to go look at other rockets, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I'm kind of curious what the new Soyuz 5 would be, because that's a pretty powerful engine, the RD-171, the MV. So it's the most powerful liquid rocket engine ever made. I don't know. I'd have to actually look to see if that's actually true. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because a lot of getting to max Q means you need a really pretty high thrust to weight ratio, and this stack's got a pretty high thrust to weight ratio. And it's only going to get higher as they up the thrust, and then they add payload and everything else, and they probably add a little bit more prop in there, because I wouldn't be surprised if they slightly underfill this stack, just because they're not going to orbit. You know, you don't need to put, so you don't need to fully fill it or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go look. I guess that's a research thing for me to do.
We're giving Ryan more work. There we go. Another question coming in here from Michigan Trailer Rental, asking, when they're lining up the ship and booster, are they able to translate the ship on the chopsticks, or do they have markers on the chopsticks where the ship's lift points need to sit? Alex?
The markers are actually on the ground for where the SPMTs and the stand needs to stand, basically, for then the chopsticks raise up the ship and lift it up on the right location. There's, I think, on the Booster 19 static fire footage from SpaceX, you can actually see it, the top-down view. You can actually see the marks where the SPMTs should go for those chopsticks to then be able to lift the ship in the right location. There are Go ahead.
I was gonna say you can see all the embed plates in any like flyover image where the transport stands literally get bolted into the ground, and
Yeah.
that's where those transport stands go. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a fixed location basically for these stands to go, and that already goes a long way. There are stabilizer sort of little arms on the bottom of the main arms that also adjust a little bit the sort of orientation of the ship. If you want to sort of, if you look at maybe from the side, sort of this direction, it also can shift the orientation a little bit to the left and right as well. So that's how they do all of the different alignment and sort of corrections for that.
Cool. I didn't even think about the ground side markers, but that's a good point. Roger saying great CTL, thank you. Richard saying this is not the ship you're looking for, says ship 20.
Why the tick mark? There was a tick, a green tick. Yeah, what is there?
I don't know, but I like it. I guess that's Kevin saying checkmate. I don't know. Devin, longtime fan since the days of Hoppy. Grateful for your coverage, enthusiasm, and inspiration. Let's go Flight 12. Thank you. Mr. Gamer.io becoming a Capcom member. Capcom and above get access to the NSF Discord in addition to all the other perks that happen on YouTube. And again, it's a good time to join because with members, multi-views, and behind the scenes coming up for launch day. Just saying. Mr. Gamer also saying, as per tradition, get your good luck cheesecakes ready. Oh gosh. Well, I don't. Does it count if Jack and EJ and all those guys aren't actually down there for it? Does the cheesecake still count? Is that like if a tree falls in the woods? Does anyone hear it? Does the cheesecake still get eaten? Keith McNair becoming a Pat Rad member. Thank you very much for that. Mark, excited to add this one to the collection. Always love to support what you guys do. Go Starship, go SpaceX. Robert, Moon, Mars, and beyond, or bust. Ready for Louisiana starships? I mean, probably about a decade from now, but I'm down for it. I still want to see Cape Starship first. Just saying. Jim, nice looking patch. Thank you to Jacques who designed that. Charles, thanks to everyone at NSF. Y'all are awesome. You guys are the only ones that get me to say y'all. I'm too much of a Yankee to say y'all. So, just saying. Only when you guys say it in like messages and stuff do I say it, or if I'm around DOS too much. Nick finally got a patch. Thanks for all your awesome work, everyone. Glenn. Wait, wrong rocket. We're talking about Starship. Oh, it's just the name Glenn. Let's go Flight 12. First 100 successful test flight. Fingers crossed, NSF rocks.
Hey, maybe, we're also close to our New Glenn launch. Hopefully in the next few weeks.
Hopefully, Flight 4. We'll see. Robert Keeper gifting 10 Red Team memberships. If you got one of those, definitely make sure you give Robert a thank you. And thank you as well, Robert, for allowing more people who might not be able to join the community with us here. Because we are a community and we love doing it all with you guys. Mr. saying keep up the great work, folks. And Grisu, the perfect super chat, I think, to wrap things up here with. Boo, ship 26, boo. Although I will thank Robert Keeper, just came in with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much for the generosity. Saying this is for all of you at NSF. Thanks all for you. Thank all of you all day, every day. Reading is hard. What's not hard to read is the clock above my head there is just about to hit exactly 48 hours until the opening of the launch window. Again, for Starship Flight 12 here. Just 2 days away. And with now a full stack out on the pad, there's a lot of excitement happening. And I think that's a perfect time to wrap up this countdown to launch. Alex, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, sure. It's always a pleasure. And by the way, you still have more support. I see that.
I know. I saw it just come
chat.
in. I'm getting to it.
They
who's hosting here? Alex,
they don't let you
wrap
wrap up at all. I guess I'm also not letting you wrap up. But anyways, yeah, it's fully stacked. And there we go. 48 hours to launch. And hopefully in 48 hours, we'll see all of those 33 Raptor 3 engines, 8,250 tons of thrust or whatever, how many. I think it's like 18 million pounds of thrust. Really crazy. So let's see what we can see. And hopefully tomorrow, a good wet dress as well.
Exactly. Thank you as well, Ryan Weber.
It's a pleasure as always, Sawyer. Yeah, we'll hopefully see a successful test tomorrow, and then hopefully a successful flight test on Thursday. I really hope this goes well. It'd be really, really cool to see this thing go first try, and especially I cannot wait to see the exhaust plume off this new pad. It's gonna look so awesome. Slow-mo footage, everything of it. I just can't wait to see all the pictures and video come in. So hopefully it all goes well, and we're just under 2 days away from a possible liftoff of Flight 12.
It's really feeling real. And Bob Fillmore, thank you as well for gifting 10 more Red Team memberships here. Appreciate that. Again, if you got it, there's a lot of cool member stuff coming up in the next couple days. And Eric, thank you as well, getting something from the shop. Thanks for all the coverage. Godspeed. Boy, now I know how Kevin felt, by the way, when he gets backseat produced. Speaking of, Kevin Michael Reed is the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and producing today's stream. We already have our stakeout stream and our launch stream broadcast ready to go here on YouTube, so you can go check those out and hit notify me so you know when we go live so you don't forget on launch day. Or you can be like all the cool kids, hang out right now over at Starbase Live, our 24/7 live cameras, where you can watch all of the pre-flight action happen. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been your host for today's countdown to launch. Thank you everybody for watching. We are now less than 2 days away from Starship returning to flight. If all goes well, the hype is real, and we will be with you for all of it.
And here we go.
There's the Deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did you just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly! Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is! That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.